Hey guys, Jonathan Echo here. ICE is starting to target immigration courts now, so let's go ahead and check this out.
We captured the moment two men went from migrants to detainees. It happened last week at Dallas Immigration Court when nearly a dozen people showed up to have their asylum cases heard.
Wow, a dozen.
Their cases were dismissed by the judge, and when they walked out of the courtroom, plainclothes federal agents were waiting to take them into custody. Immigration attorney Belinda Arroyo says targeting migrants at the
So I've heard about this. What they're doing is they're encouraging the judges to actually dismiss the cases. Apparently, this leaves them an option where they can expedite their deportation. Because if you have a court case, you can't be deported for some reason. Probably a Biden level policy, I assume.
courthouse
Let's take a look.
used to be a rare event.
What does it do when an ICE agent is in the court and they're not dealing with somebody who's currently in ICE custody?
Well, I think it makes everybody be on edge.
It's not just happening in Dallas. Asylum seekers in San Antonio were seen crying and begging for help as they were led away in handcuffs. Two Department of Homeland Security officials tell CBS News ICE is asking immigration judges across the country to dismiss the court cases of certain migrants so the agency can arrest them once their hearings end and place them in a fast-track deportation process known as expedited removal.
Expedited removal. Okay, so that's what it was called. Gotcha.
Outside of Miami courthouse, this migrant in cuffs says in Spanish, it's a trap. The Department of Homeland Security released this statement to CBS News, saying Secretary Noem is reversing Biden's catch and release policy that allowed millions of unvetted illegal aliens to be let loose on American streets.
Let's not give Biden all the credit for this. All right. Sure, he did a lot for it, but those sanctuary cities have been around since the Obama administration. All right, San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles. I am sure there are many more that you and I can both think of, but Biden didn't do this all on his own. All right, he definitely made it way worse by allowing, again, millions and millions of undocumented illegal aliens into this country, many of which are criminals, as you have found out from the news media.
On President Trump's first day in office, he reversed a 2011 policy that limited ICE arrests at sensitive locations like schools, churches, and courthouses.
Yeah, because, you can be a criminal in those locations, right? That does actually bring up one question I would like to ask Trump. If this was a policy back in 2011, why didn't he do this back in 2016 when he was elected? I don't know.
Arroyo says this new policy is part of the administration's crackdown.
As you saw, this is happening all across the United States. That was in, I think it was in Dallas. I know there's stuff going on in San Antonio, but right here is El Paso. Let's check it out.
Migrants apprehended outside of El Paso Immigration Court.
This is following immigration hearings under the new Trump expedited deportation strategy. The New York Times reported last week that the courthouse arrests are an effort to scale up deportations and target migrants immediately after their court-ordered hearings. New video shows a man, woman, and young girl being escorted from the El Paso Federal Building's loading zone into a Department of Homeland Security van by ICE agents.
Okay, so this family is actually probably pretty lucky because they're going to be deported together. But many are not. And, I do feel bad for them, but the problem is you've kind of brought this on yourself. You're under the radar. You're undocumented. We don't know, technically, that you exist, all right? We don't know that you have a family, all right? You go off to work, all right? Say you work at Denny's. All right? I really like Denny's. So we'll say that you're working at Denny's and they'll grab you there. Well, they don't know about your family, and you sure as heck aren't going to tell them, right? So your family's not going to know that you were deported. There is an option for you, though. Both ICE and DHS, and I'm sure other law enforcement agencies have said this as well, but I know ICE and DHS have. You can actually voluntarily deport yourself, and you and your entire family can be sent there. You won't be separated. All right, that is an option for you.
DHS says courthouse arrests are safer for law enforcement because those who have been arrested and had gone through security were unarmed. Local border officials say the move is troubling, especially after the Trump administration reversed the policy.
Yeah, so it's a lot safer for law enforcement, right? All this terrible rhetoric that's coming from the left right now, it's awful. It's going to end up making law enforcement's job way harder. And honestly, we're going to probably run into an issue where they're going to get hurt. All right, they're putting their lives on the line for the safety of our country, for the safety of me and you. And for those of you who might be watching that are a part of this, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I greatly appreciate what you are doing. You have a very difficult job, much more difficult than my job, and I cannot thank you enough for that.
That since 2011 put sensitive areas such as churches, schools, and courthouses largely off limits to immigration enforcement actions.
That never should have been the case. Never should have been the case. That is an Obama policy right there. Never should have been the case. Should have been taken away a long time ago. I'd love to ask Trump about that. I really would. Here we have a statement from GOP representative from San Antonio, Texas, I believe, Chip Roy, if I remember correctly. Let's check it out.
Right now, people can't be deported if they're already going through the deportation process with a judge. That's why immigration attorneys say ICE is dropping deportation cases altogether to speed up the process and arrest people as they leave court.
That's what I was talking about earlier. All right, drop the case, they can speed this stuff up, get them moving along. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting weeks, months, in some cases probably years before we can actually do anything about enforcing our laws. And again, the law is the law. All right, illegal entry into the United States is a crime. If someone breaks immigration laws, they should be held accountable regardless of where they are or who they are. All right, courthouses are not sanctuaries. They are institutions of justice, and that includes enforcing immigration laws. All right, no one's above the law. If ICE or law enforcement can't act in a courthouse, where can they act? All right, it's ironic that people who broke federal law, expect protections in a place designed to uphold the law.
I reached out to Congressman Chip Roy, who represents part of San Antonio, and says these arrests are legal and necessary, sending me this statement.
I'm going to go ahead and read this for you because I think it'll be easier. All right. And I quote, "Because the Biden administration allowed millions of illegal aliens into the country, most of whom do not have a valid claim to protection from removal, the Trump administration has prioritized enforcing the rule of law and our security by bolstering enforcement operations to remove these lawbreakers." End quote. Again, lawbreakers, all right? It is against the law to enter a country illegally, all right? You don't see people doing that in countries like China, right? Yeah, because you can't do that, right? Here, apparently, we give you everything you want. You show up here, it's a great time, right? According to the left. But we cannot have these policies in place anymore. All right, this is a public safety concern. Many individuals being arrested at these courthouses are not just in the country illegally, all right, which, again, is a crime, all right? But they often have other additional charges, such as domestic violence, DUIs, theft, etc. All right, releasing them back into the community before ICE can act puts law-abiding citizens at risk, all right? The hypocrisy of these sanctuary cities like San Francisco and Chicago, it's absurd to me, all right? Sanctuary advocates want to protect criminals in the name of compassion. But what about the compassion for victims, right? These same cities arrest citizens for minor offenses but fight to protect people who broke into the country. It's only a matter of time before we get a major terrorist action. We already did get a major attack, right? That attack in Boulder. That was a T attack. I can't say the word. I'll get in trouble. It's ridiculous. That is Biden's fault. That is 100% Biden's fault. All right, let me make it clear, okay? Enforcing immigration laws is not racist. It's just being responsible. The mainstream narrative paints all immigration enforcement as racist. That is lazy and that is dishonest. This is about legality, all right? This is not about ethnicity, all right? It's about respecting borders and protecting sovereignty, protecting our nation. Every time ICE does its job, the media cries foul, but says nothing when American citizens are penalized or ignored, all right? Ask why the media is more outraged about criminals being deported than about the crimes they are committing. All right, we need to look at the bigger picture here, okay? Because this border chaos is now local. It's in my community, it's in your community, it's in your courthouse, in your neighborhood. All right, enforcing immigration law locally is a necessity. All right, it is a responsibility that we have. All right, this has been a federal failure for the past 4 years, and I don't know how Trump is going to fix it. because it's going to take a monumental amount of time. Right? It's a huge undertaking. Well, that's all I got for you guys for today. I'm John Echo, and this has been the Echoes of Truth. Until next time, stay loud, stay sharp, and remember, the noise can never drown out the truth because it echoes forever.